The Department of Public Health and Ed Lee declared a public health hazard, and that's why they displaced people from Division Street. And everyone can agree that living on the street is actually a public health hazard for the people living on the street, and it contributes to livability issues in the area. But I handed out these to some of you, and they're at the front table. It's unconstitutional to criminalize sleep without offering another place to go. And so the issue is that when Ed Lee and the Department of Public Health say that everybody has to leave on Division, what happens? People go to a different place. And the issue with that is that there are, and I've been spending some time on Division, I've been spending some time at Cesar Chavez and 101 with Ken. There's self-organization to these communities, and when people live next to each other and in community, they build up a social fabric, and they're also able to be contacted and worked with in a way because there's a group dynamic there. And so when people get disrupted and moved around, that's lost. And so what I would really ask us to do is that, you know, I understand the idea of like, let's learn and take things slow to a certain extent, but we have thousands of people living in a state of daily crisis on our streets. And so the question is, what we need to do, and this is also on your sheet there, a state of emergency was declared by the DPW director, Mohammed Nuru, last year to get the navigation center started in January of 2015. I want Ed Lee, I want Julie, I want Emily, I want Sam Dodge, I want all of us to say we are in a state of emergency. Instead of telling people they just have to get up and go, and then saying it's a Department of Public Health issue and because people are going to the bathroom on the ground without offering a porta potty, we already have identified in the city, there are dozens, hundreds of places actually that are underutilized city property right now where we could say, we actually want people to go there. Maybe we have a max of 50 people per space. We start off with porta potties, we start off with basic services. Right now at Pier 80, it's about, you know, it was a $500,000 setup with about $1,000 per month per individual that's there. Give these communities of 50 people $250 per person to work with. That's $12,500 per 50 people in a community. And then work together in that group to figure out what kind of services can we support with this. Maybe we have a hot team member that's staffed with some of that money. Maybe there's a porta potty. But this is what we have to do. I'm tired of waiting. How many people here are tired of waiting? We can't do this anymore. We can't say, like, kick this down the road anymore. I'm fed up because I've been working with people just like everyone here at this table, and we're tired of waiting. We need a state of emergency. We need Ed Lee to take action and actually direct people to places that are more ideal for people gathering. Maybe it's expanding Pier 80. You know, who knows? But let's work towards that.
And I'm going to ask for kind of a
I love that passion. That's awesome. See, that's what we need. You know, the last 30 years, we've had homelessness here in San Francisco, and that's, as far as I'm concerned, untenable. This is a human rights issue, and I guess I'm really excited and really hopeful because I kind of feel like we're reaching this tipping point. And I feel like there's two things that I've really noticed looking at this kind of holistically big picture. People have started to become more empathetic and more compassionate, and I think that's crucial. I've seen conversations on next door start to shift. I've seen more political will build. I've seen offices emerge, and that's exciting. And then also I feel like there's just this like kind of massive income inequality. So from a system-wide standpoint, how do we kind of correct these imbalances and injustices? And there's some really interesting, fascinating stuff going on that I think really pertains to this, that I've been following. Some issues that have come about because of Hand Up. They are kind of microfinancing for the homeless. There's Lava May. They've been innovating these solutions by creating mobile bathrooms. So I think looking at our city and the brain trust that we have here and the money that we have here, there's really no reason why we shouldn't be able to get all 6,500 people living on the streets off the streets in a very, very quick fashion if we really put our minds to it. So I'm excited about these things. I feel like, I'd love to kind of talk about and show some of the ideas for just building housing, you know? We need supportive services, but we need to just build this permanent housing with supportive services. And there's a lot of system reasons why those solutions have been squashed. And I think it's time for us as a community to come together and reevaluate these new innovative approaches and say like, hey, if we think differently, we actually have some very realistic, interesting solutions to solve this. So I'd love to hear what people have to say tonight, but I just want to leave you with that kind of inspiration that you have the power to help us change this.
And over here, the large area of boards and drawings over here is, I believe those are all yours, right?
I could talk about them. I've actually been meeting with a few different designers who all have different approaches, and I wanted to make them available so we can potentially discuss options.
We looked at Cesar Chavez in 101 because that's where people were. But now there's discussion of a place that's nearby that's a parking lot that might be suited because it's underutilized. And I can't stress enough that it's really City Hall's job right now to be able to, I think they've identified these places already, but really the focus is on give us a list of the places where people can actually start to set up these communities or go to, and then allow some kind of funding or allow people to self-fund and fundraise privately to be able to try these things out. Because what do you really have to lose? It can't really get much worse. So why don't we try something? And then at Pier 80, you know, there's lots of space there. And I agree that it's an unwelcoming environment if you look on the outside right now, and people are focusing, I think, too much on that and really not enough on its potential, its space. And so what if instead of the HSA and St. Vincent de Paul taking it upon themselves to say, we have this budget and we're gonna set this place up, why don't they open it up to the community and say, we're looking for volunteers to help try out some of these types of things on the parking lot of Pier 80, and we can try it out. I was just in Oakland this weekend. They had a build out. There's a guy named Greg, and there's a woman named Vanessa who actually lives in San Francisco, and they organized an event where people were building tiny structures for people, and there was so much positive response that they had to turn people away. There's a lot of creativity here. We're the headquarters of Burning Man, for crying out loud. People know how to build things. There's an interest. I was on Division with the Porta Potty this last week, offering the service that the DPH doesn't seem to be able to do. And there was a guy that walked by and he said, I'm an architect. I know engineers. We can do this. We can, and you know, Ken meets people all the time too who are interested in doing this kind of work and have the volunteer capacity. So I think it's about opening it up, but really it's about finding those spaces and saying this is where we can try things.